Good morning, everybody. Sorry, I've got the background music that'll be turned off shortly. There's about a 30-second delay. I know I keep saying this each week. I just want to make sure that my voice is coming through fine. So I've got another screen up where I'm actually playing the live stream. I do that because it lets me monitor what's going on, so I can keep an idea. So there you are. I can hear myself talk. So let's mute that now. How are we all this week? Have we had a good week? Really interesting week this week. I've been using actually not as many pens as normal. I've only used, I think it was about 6 pens, and had interesting experiences with them, which we'll look at shortly. Welcome. We've got a couple of people joined us, Miss Marilyn Darling and Teresa Harris. So I've got screens all over the place. On my left-hand side, I've got actually the live stream, and that's where I can see the list of participants. And Marie's just joined us, and Blonde Scales 1. Welcome all. What I thought would do today would answer a question that was asked. It was about, I'm going to say about 6 weeks ago, when I was starting doing these streams, and somebody asked for a tour of my pen collection and storage. I can't remember who it was. I know it was there because I created a video idea. So that's what I thought we'd look at today. Just going to pop over to the chat. That's on yet another window. I've got windows everywhere today. So we've got some good mornings. Marilyn, Teresa. Marilyn. Hello. Well, I debate whether I sound good. This is one of the problems when you're editing yourself on videos. Listening to your own voice is quite interesting. My average video, when I create it, so, one of my pen videos, they usually end up being about, say, 20 minutes in length. That takes me about an hour and a half to 2 hours to edit that. So I have to listen to myself talking and quite often saying the same sentence over and over again. Marilyn's had a goodish week. Got some more hellos. Just quickly going through these. Duchess Doolittle, welcome. Blonde Scales 1 has some rough weather, but got some happy mail also this week. Yeah, our weather here has been a bit miserable. Middle of winter here, and it's been raining. I've got to be honest, it's been raining now. Well, I'm not constantly, but more or less for about a month. At the moment, I keep expecting to look out the window and see an arc floating down the road. It's that bad. Dowens and Scribblings. Hi, Terry. Hello, Duchess Doolittle. And okay, voice sounds good on this end. Thanks. So let's start then with a tour through my collection. I'm just going to scoot on over and give you a little bit of seasickness. I'm going to move the computer around. So behind me, I have here, this is a unit from IKEA. So it's one of their cube units. And in it, at this end, and at the other end, I'll show you there. You can see the other end as well. What I've got, they're actually little shelves designed for these. So if I can't move the mic too far, so I'll just pull one out and show you. So the little shelves, which are quite handy. Get rid of that. And on them, I have these. I'll show you the back first. These are some A4 document holders, essentially plastic tubs. They were all over the place last year. So here, I bought some from Big W. I bought some from Woolworths. And then in them, my wife has created this lovely fill-in. Let me get an empty one. So here's an empty one. So what she's done is she's created, if I can get into it, she likes doing crafty stuff. So we found in a place called Spotlight, which is like a craft store material, this material here, which was Star Wars. So what she's done is she's created like little grooves in there. All she's done is sewn on a backing, just plain red backing. And then at various gaps, we've got these. This is just wood doweling, which was put in there. So that creates like little holes. for holding the pens. And that fits nicely inside the box. Each box will then hold, let me just count, I've never actually counted, I think it's about 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10. Each box will hold, well, 10 slots, but quite often I'm doubling up. So potentially between 10 and 20 pens per box. And then what I do with them is, on the front, I label them. So the side over here, they're essentially non-Chinese pens. The other side, they're all Chinese pens. So on the front there, I've just to give myself a hint, so I've got Japanese. We'll do a quick walk through each of these. So I'm going to swap over to the camera view. And then I'll keep jumping over and back every time I need to grab one. Just move the mic. So here we've got the Japanese one. Let me get into. So on the top, what I've done is just with one of these, a Dymo lettering thing, is I make these little tags. And on there, I've got the name of the pen. So 823. Here is where I'm doubling up. You can't actually see it doubled up because both the pens are inked. If I open this up, the ones we've got in here, we've got a Pilot Pereira. Nice little pen. Not 100% happy with it, but that's just me. I've got a spare cat. Here we are. I think that's a Pilot. There. Got a Sailor Compass Junior here, or Sailor Junior. I think it's Sailor 1911 shape. It's a steel nib. I think it was about 50 Aussie dollars when I got it. I need to use this more often, but I do find it's a little bit on the small side for me. And then I've got over on the side here, let me just move it over, got a couple of platinum preppies. So I've got the clear one and I've got the red one. So that's tray number one. I'm just going to chuck them on the floor. I'll tidy it all up later. Tray number two. Get into there. These are Indian pens. So in here, I would normally have my Ranga Model 5 and Ranga Santa, but they're currently inked up. So I've got here, these are a couple of pens that came when I bought my other two Ranga pens. These were like the freebie pens. What I'm going to do, it's a nice little pen. I've never used it though. So what I'm going to do, I can't remember if it's later on this year, I'm actually going to ink up every single Indian pen I've got, or made in India pen, and do a comparison between them. So we've got them two freebie from Ranga. In here I've got, this would normally have a fountain pen Revolution Darjeeling. Here it is. It's currently inked up. This, he says, showing you something where you can't see it. And then also in here, I've got a fountain pen Revolution Guru. I think this was the cheapest fountain pen Revolution pen. Quite nice pens. I enjoy using both of those. So let's chuck that out of the way. Got plenty of room here, so I can get some more Indian pens. Next up, and I'm going to go quickly through these. I'm trying to keep an eye on the questions as I'm going. I will go back and go through them all, but if you've got a question, please shout out and hopefully I can answer it at the time. So this one, should have shown you, this is German pens. So in here, I've got a space for my Safari. That's always out because I use it in virtually every video. Got my Lamy AL Star. This has got a 1.5 stub. I like to use this with Cult Pen's Little Pip or Diamond Phillip. Kaweco Sports. Over here we've got an empty slot. Let me get this right. There we go. That's a Diplomat Aero, would sit in there. Then I've got this online pen. I haven't used it very much. It was a cheapo pen. I think, well, cheap, about $30. I think I need to get this out and use this again. I believe it's a fine nib. Main reason I don't use it is when I used it the last time, I felt it was leaking a lot. So I always ended up with loads of ink over my fingers. Okay, next up, continuing our tour of Europe, we go to Italy. So in here, I've got my Leonardo Ferrare. This is white salt. Lovely. I love the colouring of this pen. I've got my Momento Magico. This is in meal or honey. Slot here where I would normally have my Momento Zero Grande. 2 slots here for my Viscontis, both inked up. So I've got the Van Gogh and the Breeze. And then right over on the other side, I've got the Tibaldi Bononia. That one's still in there. This is an interesting pen. It's nice. I quite enjoy it. It's nice to write with. The only thing I'd really complain about, the threads, they seem to catch a lot when I'm putting the cap on and off. Feels like it's grating. Now I've tried silicone grease. I've tried all sorts on here. Going into the body, opening the body up isn't too bad. It just seems to be when I'm putting the cap on and off. But even there, the threads do feel fairly tight. But still, it's an enjoyable pen to use. These are all steel nibbed pens. As I say, I've got some slots in there, so hopefully I'll get some more Italian pens. Let's jump on over to where I think most of the viewers are from. So, USA. So these are American companies, not necessarily American-made pens. Just very quickly, Paul, what nibs do you have with the Fountain Pen Revolution pens? They're both mediums. When I'm getting a pen that I'm not 100% certain of, I do tend to get a medium nib, although I prefer broader nibs. So what have I got? I've got the Conflin All-American. Yeah, we won't talk about that. Just check out my videos for my thoughts on that. They're here, although it's not labelled yet, that's where the Durograph will go. I've got a Cross Bailey Light. This is why I label these all, because sometimes I forget what I've got. So the Cross Bailey Light. Nice pen, fairly light pen. Good way to try out a brand. I've got my Retro 51 Tornado. This is in the, I think it's called Antique Copper was the finish. So one of the things I found with this is the converter easily comes out of the section, or where it should join the section. It's as if it doesn't quite go in far enough, so I have to be careful of that. I'm currently eyeing up another Tornado, but it looks, it's I saw it yesterday on Cult Pens and Pure Pens. Let me just move this up a wee bit. Looks really nice. It's it's the York of the Water of the Roses series they're starting. Not sure about the looks of it. I'm eyeing it up because the patterning looks really delicate. It looks too delicate for me. I like chunky stuff. So talking about chunky, I've got my Narwhal Nautilus. I've got a couple of Key Wests. So these are another one where it will double up. There we go. Let's move this over. I've got, this is the Chromis Teal Skullkill. And then next to it, I've got a slot for my Skullkill, which is the Pop Eater Navy. That's inked up as well, which is why it's not in here. Just tell me if I'm going too fast or too slow. So next up, Taiwan. So Ecos, I've got my 2 Ecos there. I've got my spare nib unit for my Diamond 580, which is the slot there. My VAX 700R, love the VAX 700R. The Draco, the pen I love to hate, is a really nice pen, but I like to whinge about it. Slot for my Opus 88 Caloro, that's currently inked up. You'll see that later on. And then the final one I've got on here, the Laban 325. This is in Cambridge Brown. We're getting close to the end of that particular one. So now I've got what I just told EU and Russia. I should rename that to EU, and I can't remember the name of the country where Bennu are at the moment. That's why I've just left it. So I've got a spot there for the Bennu talisman. Spot here for the Waterman Karen. This is the Cult Pens Mini, made for them by Kaweco. This is one where I've actually taken the nib and put it on another pen. Very small pen, very, very thin pen. Then I've got the rest of the space here is for my Parkers. I think they've got a little bit mixed up. There's 4 of them. In fact, I think it should be, that one should be right the way over there. So I've got a Latitude, is that a Frontier and a Sonnet. Then I've got a Parker Jotter that's inked up at the moment. The Parker Jotter is actually what's got that nib on from that Cult Pens Mini. Right, the last one, because the other 2 in there are currently empty, so I've got room for more pens. I need to let the wife know that. Room for more pens, they need to be filled up, don't they? So, miscellaneous. Not many in the miscellaneous pile. So I've got, what have we got? A Noodle as Charlie. Got this when I bought a bottle of Heart of Darkness. It came free. And then I've got a couple of pens made in Australia. These are kit pens. This one was bought from Fremantle Market. What the guy does is he goes and gets various minerals and stuff and then mixes it with a resin and uses that to coat the pens. Very nice, so it's Australia made. Downside with this, I couldn't actually buy the fountain pen by itself. He sells them as a pack with a ballpoint. My wife, she's got the ballpoint. But strangely enough, it does sell the ballpoints individually. Bit weird. Got here, this one I bought, it's from Tasmania. Again, it's based on a kit pen. This wood is Golden Sassafras. Always struggle saying that one. And then this was some, it's actually in the wrong pile. It should be in the other trays, really. This was a cheaper Chinese pen. I think it's some kind of Jinhao pen, but it wasn't labelled as such. I think it was about $2 or $3. It was dirt cheap. So that's all my non-Chinese pens. Got a massive pile on the floor. I hope the wife doesn't come in. I'll get a mega telling off. Right, let's reach behind the other side. Oh, what I'm going to do is just take them all off to start with. That'll save reaching backwards. I know, there seems to be an awful lot, doesn't there? So the first one, this is just default called China. There we go. So in here, this mainly, so as you can see by the writing, we've got Hongdian, we've got D-Like, and Kaigaloo's. So, Light of Hope, that's currently inked. Hongdian 525, Hongdian 960, Hongdian number I can't remember, 1841. I like this. This is a nice one. Well, they're all nice. Bit more of a classic shape on that. I do like the 960. I'm going to compare this with some other pens. I'm planning on doing, I can't remember when, a video looking at things which are sort of like a Parker Duofold, and I think that might be one I do. Got the N7, room for the N8. Kaigaloo 222222222. I think it's a 222. Quite a small pen. It was fairly inexpensive. Quite a bright colour as well. And then I've got a 316. This is in a low. Next to that is a 316A. I say that that Hongdian, very similar look. That's why I'm thinking of using that in when I do my duofold type pens. Next up, another China tray. This one doesn't have as many. So I've got a slot for the Fullywen 017 right the way over here. That's inked up. The Asvine V169, again inked up. And these are a couple of Bauer pens. Which ones are they? This is a 7. This one's a 79. So this is in a check pattern. Pop the lid back on, and this is the Bauer 51. I think that's the pull-off one, yeah. I like the Bauer 51. It's a nicer size. I do find the other one is a little bit on the short side for me. Okay, let's jump into another china tray. Again, only 3 pens in here. I should really combine the two, shouldn't I? So in here, I've got a Picasso Premier. Bit of a thin pen, this one. I like the fact it's black, just with that little hint of red. Whenever I use this, I tend to put a red in it. I think this is the Dragon pen. I think it's Hero. When I got this, it was purely because it had this fancy eye. Again, you know, I like the material. It's got texture to it, which I think feels nice. Shame it didn't have it on the section, though. The section is a bit slippy. Then I've got a Keiko Edge. So this, I think it's meant to be inspired by the Lamy Safari. They reckon it's Matlaron material. But it's another nice pen. Tend to use this for black or grey inks only, so it doesn't get inked up that often, because I don't often have a black ink in a pen. Right, next we go to Wingsun. So not many Wingsun pens. When I was looking at this, I was a bit surprised. So first Chinese pens I got was the Wingsun 3008. You know, eco knockoff. Nice, cheap pen. I think they were about $7 Aussie. I've only got the one in here. Somewhere I've got another 3. We've then got the 698. This is the grey version with the steel nib. I've also got a 698 with the gold nib on it, which is inked up. 699. This is my second 699. This is the piston one. My first 699 was... how can I best describe it? Pile of rubbish. Broke the first time I used it. Glad I got the piston version though. Right, we move to Pen BBS. For a long time, my favourite Chinese manufacturer, although I don't have that many. So, Pen BBS 268. I've got 2 of these. One of them, as you can see, is stained with browns. I tend to put brownish inks in here. The other one, I tend to put the red inks in. I've got a 308. This is in the blue. Also got a 308 in Mojito, which is like a transparent green. 323. This is in brown aluminium. Really nice. It's got, I think it's an extra fine nib. This one, I don't like the nib, but I'm planning on changing that. I might put a broad nib on there. Then this one is, what number is it? The 456. This is a vacuum filler. Had terrible problems with it. Just could not get it to work. What I ended up doing is I've taken off the plunger. It still seals. And I eyedropper fill it. That seemed to be the only way I could get that one to work. Inked up, I've got a 487 and the 494. The 494 was about $8 Aussie. And it's a vacuum filler. The 487, oh, it's a nightmare pen. Nice looking pen, but horrible to fill. Now we've got a Jinhao tray. I think there should be 2, yeah. This is Jinhao tray number 2. So we've got Jinhao 88, the X159, a couple of, which ones are these? X450s. This one is a 997. Oh, let's look on the box, shall we? That'll tell me. It's the X750. 9056. Wooden pen, quite nice. Have flow issues with this, but I think that's because of the wood. Although it does seem to have a lining in it. So Jinhao tray number 1. This one feels heavy because this is one of the few trays that are full. So in here, Jinhao 35. Let's get Jinhao 35. We've got 3 Jinhao 100s, a couple of Jinhao 159s, Jinhao 200, I had to think for a second. Jinhao 500. 992, so all the rest are 992s in various colours. What I've done is I bought all the transparent colours of the 992s, and I always keep at least one of them inked up. At the moment, this is one of the few times where I don't have a Jinhao 100 inked up, which is unusual because normally I've got one of these three inked up at all times. Only 2 more trays to go, then we're finished, and I'll jump over to the comments. So, next tray. In fact, both the next trays are Moon Man or Mahjong. So I've got the A1, extra fine nib. Writes really well, quite surprised with it. But I found it just wasn't a pen that I reached for. M600, or is M600S. Just got the one of those. M8. This is, I call this Black and Starry. Got a gap here for 1, 2, 3, 4 M800s. So 2 are inked up at the moment, the amber and the blue version. I've got the purple and the green. Let's move this over so we can actually see. A P135. I think this is a Mont Blanc Petit Prince that this is a clone of. This one's an odd one. This is the S5. Got beautiful transparent body. Got this horrible... I really don't like this patterning on this section. Love it if that would have been transparent. And then we've also got the T5. I've only got the purple version. I do intend to eventually get all the colours of that. And the last tray, lucky last. Here we go. There's only the 2 pens in here, so these again, the Mahjong or Moon Man. In here, I've got the, is it the N5 or the N1? N1, this is a pocket pen. Posted, it's quite nice. Unposted, very, very small. Downside with this pen is it didn't come with a converter. I found, it didn't even come with a cartridge. I found a cartridge that sort of fits, but it's very, very loose, so I can pop it in. But when I have it in my bag and carrying it around, it comes out. So I need to check and find some different cartridges to try in there. Very similar to that Cult Pens Mini, to be honest. And then the last pen is the C3. Again, it's a nice light pen. I've got a converter in there. I may try that converter actually in the N1, see if it'll fit. And then try eyedropper in this because I like the transparent body. So that's the pen storage. The other 2 things I've got, my everyday carry, I keep in this Gale and Leather A5 folio. It's actually empty because I've got all the pens out ready to do my writing with today. So I normally have 6 pens in here. I've got a USB stick. I've got various little tag, you know, the Leonardo tags. I've got the eye that came from Gale and Leather. Behind it, I will do a walk through this one day. This is, oh, you didn't want to see that, did you, my phone number? This is my book where I have all my pens in use for a month. Let me just move it over. Just so I've always got the list with me, in case I forget what I'm using. And then I keep here just a cheaper, I think this was like $5 for 3 from Kmart. And in here, I often use it to take notes, but if I'm out and about doing stuff, then, you know, this is what I use. And I always just keep a real cheap notebook in there because it's just for thoughts on the go. My next one is a pen case. Cheapo one from China. I think it was made by Keiko or something. In here, this is where I keep all my pens. These, or should I say, all my pens that are inked up. This side is all pens under 100. Inside is these pens are all under 100 Aussie dollars. This side, not as many pens because these are usually reserved for pens over 100 Aussie dollars. And then the final thing I've got, this is full of today's pens. This is, it actually came as a pen case. I took the tray out. I don't use the case. But what this is just a tray that I use. So the pens that I'm going to be working with on any particular day for a video, that's where they go. So they've got me in the right order. The pen I'm using for the day, it literally just sits on my desk. And if it doesn't have a roll stop, it rests on this. When I bought my Just Turnings pen, the guy that makes them pens, his children made this. Just sits nicely on my desk. I think that's quite nice. So that's what I've got for my ink storage. Let me just pop that there. Squeeze on over. And we'll have a look through the comments. Let's move the mic. And we'll go through the comments. So Paul McHugh, welcome. Teresa loves to see storage options. How many fountain pens do you have? It was, let me pull up my spreadsheet. Let me see if I've still got it. I do have this in a spreadsheet that I did for last week. Let me see if I've still got the numbers spreadsheet. Let me open the right thing. And file, open recent. So pen count is currently, let's smart screen. So my pen count currently 138 because row one's the title. Surprised myself when I looked at that number. I thought it was going to be more like 100. So yeah, that surprised me a little bit. We'll go back to the comments. Let me just close out of this. Santa, welcome. What nibs do I have on the fountain pen revolution? I think I picked this up as we were going through. So Spider-Man's out to play today with my tea. So yeah, they're both medium nibs. They were ones I got to really start using it. James Barrett, yeah, beauty of using this cloth, we can cut it to fit. So some of them, yeah, they are a bit on the long side. Let me just reposition the camera slightly. There we go. More or less center anyway. We've got hello there. Teresa has got the Narwhal Largo. I'm quite pleased with the Key West pens. I've only got the yellow and the purple one. I do intend to eventually get the blue one as well. Marilyn, like the Kaigaloo 356, because you can do the blind cap and use a piston. Yeah, sometimes that's really handy. And yeah, as she said, next feed, great for priming the feed. Marilyn again picked up a Macrolon Lamy 2000. Do you know, I know people keep going on about the Lamy 2000. I've never bought one. To be honest, I've never even tried one. I do keep popping it into my shopping cart for cult pens, but then take it out again. I look at it and I don't know what it is. It just doesn't excite me. You know, as I saw the Keiko Edge, the colouring, nothing to write home about. You know, people rave about the writing experience, but I get similar from a lot of my other pens. So, yeah, not really a pen that I've really thought about. Video is a bit off kilter. I'm guessing that's because I was trying to go so fast. So I was having things in and out, and the way that I've got my camera, let me just see if I can reposition that slightly ready for the next time. I'll have to move my papers around in a second. And I've just moved the camera down a bit. Blonde Scales loves how the A1 writes, but it's very hard to get started. Yeah, the ink I've had in there every time I've used it is Diamine Oxford Blue. I think that's a real nice ink. It seems to work really well with it. But yeah, it can be a bit of a pain in the butt sometimes. I'm glad I got it because I had, again, been toying with getting a vanishing point. But after using that, I've got to be honest, I don't really think... but after that, Do you know, my brain's gone. Do you know, don't you hate it when your brain goes dead halfway through a sentence? Anyway, yeah, the A1, yeah, I was looking at vanishing point, but after using the A1, I've got to be honest, I don't think I'll bother with a vanishing point now. I think the video window feed was off kilter in the program. Hopefully by swapping cameras, that's come back. The problem I've got, I do have, as I've said, it's very hard to show. I've got my laptop here, which is what I'm talking on. That's got OBS Studio running and also the YouTube Studio. What I find is there's a 30-second delay between what I see here and what I see on my preview monitor, which is over here running on a completely different computer. So I can actually see what you're seeing. That's muted. Sometimes I do find that 30 seconds, by the time it's come around and there's a problem, I forgot all about it. So hopefully that should come right now. But we'll see as we go on. Okay, that's my talking points. Let me fetch in my cheat sheet for the day. I'll just pop that to one side and we'll go back. No, not to that one. We'll go back to this one. And this is where I need to get my camera repositioned because I moved it. I've moved it down a little bit. We don't need it so high. So I'm going to jerk you all around for a second. There we go. That's more or less lined up. Not quite, but there we go. So what pens have I been using this week? So the first one, I've actually used it 2 days this week. This is the Ranga Santa. It's got a 1.1 stub nib on it. Not a lot of ink left in this. Loads of threads. It's possible, I would think, to eyedropper this. As you can see, to be honest, to get it right in, I've had to really prime the feed quite a few times now. Issue that I've had with this pen isn't the pen, it's the ink. The ink is a chameleon ink. So let's just do some writing. Let's put the pen name there. I can talk about the ink after it. So we've got the Ranga Santa with a 1.1 stub nib. And in here I've got Diamine and it's Spiced Apple. Now this pen was $145 when I bought it in December. I like to give people ideas of prices of pens because, you know, if you see a pen and you think, oh, that looks really nice, and then find out it's some stupid amount of money, at least you know. Yeah, so the issue I've had with this, with the Spiced Apple, as you can see, hopefully it's got that chameleon there. You can see the gold, bit of gold shimmer, certainly on the word apple. I see a lot of there on Ranga. But I've found it seems to block the feed a bit. I'm not sure if it'll come over. Let me try. You can actually see that on the outside quite a bit of it. So I've had to prime the feed a couple of times. Once this is empty, I'm going to clean it out. And I'm going to put in Diamine Red Dragon, which seems to be the same base colour. So it'd be interesting. I want to actually compare the Spiced Apple and Red Dragon, mostly in about 6 or 7 weeks. So I need to have it in this pen for a few weeks to see how it performs. So that's a Ranga Santa. The next pen is the Pilot E95S. Very small pen, but it posts lovely. So we've got the Pilot E95S. This is a medium and it's a 14K nib. And the ink in here by Diamine. I think all the inks are by Diamine because it's a Inkvent month and it's Diamine Pick Me Up. This pen was 195 Aussie dollars when I bought it. Well, when it was bought for me, it was a gift from my wife. This is the pen I'm using today as well. Next up, we had a proper pocket pen. This is the Kaweco. I think it's actually called a Skyline Sport. I just call it the Kaweco Sport. got a nice 1.1 stub on this. So we've got the Kaweco Sport 1.1. I love this pen and ink combo. I think it looks really nice. And it's Diamine Yule Log. And this was 34 Aussie dollars when I bought it. One of the things I need to keep an eye on this is with the name of the ink. I don't know why I've got my head convinced it's called Yuletide, not Yule Log, and that's what I keep putting. Really enjoy this. At the moment I'm using a cartridge which I've just syringe filled. As you can see there, the cartridge is very, very loose. What I'm thinking of doing is next time I use this pen is I'll actually eyedropper it because I love this combo. Up next we've got the Fullywen 017. This has got a medium nib, and in here is Diamine Celebration. This pen was $38 when I bought it. Up till this week I had Diamine Bliss, nice blue ink, but I thought let's go for a slightly different colour when that was finished. And looking at the pens, so I thought, yeah, Diamine Celebration looks nice. Other reason is this is another one where hopefully you can see it definitely there on the L and on part of the chevron there, and see quite a lot, quite a lot coming through. This is another one with like that chameleon ink. I want to see, don't I get any issues with this pen, because as well as having issues with the Santa, I also had issues with this next pen with a chameleon ink. So the next pen is the Monteverde Ritma. This is in the olive colour. Very heavy pen. The nib on here is broad. The ink is Diamine. It's Mistletoe. Mistletoe. That was if I can spell. This was 77 Aussie dollars. Prior to this, I had Diamine Olive Swirl because I thought, well, olive and olive. And again, had terrible issues. It was constantly stopping. I was having to prime the feed virtually maybe every 3/4 of a page. Since having Mistletoe in here, I've had no issues with that. So that's what's leading to me to believe it's an ink issue. And then the last of this week's pens is the Opus 88 Claro. So we've got the blue for the ebonite, and then we've got this resin. I'd wish this resin was a little bit paler because I struggle to see the ink levels. Again, we've got a broad nib on here. So this is the Opus 88 Claro with a broad nib and Diamine Jack Frost. And this pen was 120 Aussie dollars, 120, not 220, Garry. This is an ink which I find a bit frustrating. You know, when I've seen it on videos, you know, other people's videos, they've been going on about all the glorious red sheen. Now, this is Midori cotton pad. I can see a little bit of red sheen coming through. Also, it's meant to have a blue shimmer. To my eye, I struggle to see both the sheen and the shimmer. But when I take a photo of it and then look at it close up, I can see a load of the shimmer coming through. So it's a bit weird. So yeah, to my eye, I do struggle. You know, I've seen a little bit there, but nowhere near as much as I get with things like ruby blues and other blues with a red shimmer. Other blues with a red sheen. So that's the pens I've been using this week. Let's swap back over to the camera and we'll jump back into the comments. Going down and down and down and down. Black bars. I'm not sure about that. I'm not seeing them. It's hard to show in my preview screen. I can see a black bar on the left-hand side. Maybe that's what I need to look at. Maybe I need to make some changes in my OBS settings. I'll have a look at that over the week and try and get that fixed. Let me just make a note of that. Black bars. Is it in all the cameras, or is it just certain cameras where you're seeing that, Marilyn? So I've just made a note of that to look at that. Is Diamond Spiced Apple a scent? No, it's not a scented ink. It's a chameleon. I wish it was scented. I bet that'd be quite nice. Marilyn's already answered my question. Black bar on the right. Yeah, I think I know what the problem is. Let me just swap on over to the iPhone camera. What I think the problem is, not sure if this will... I'm just moving the window a little bit. The camera that I'm using doesn't quite fit the screen. So let me get the right one. Pop this one back. That's the comment I was moving. Is that the video feed? There's the iPhone. So if I move this over ever so slightly, hopefully that might help a little bit. There we go. Hopefully that might fix it. I'll check again in 30 seconds. So let's go back to my camera. I'll keep watching. I know you're all seeing things moving around a little bit. Marilyn, beautiful Ranga Santa pen. It is. I saw it advertised at the start of December last year. I've never seen them advertise it since. Haven't seen it on their website. There was, I think it was 4 different styles. As soon as I saw it, though, I thought I've got to have it. It arrived Christmas Eve. It's one of these pens. This will be, like my Bennu Talisman, this will be a pen that will come in and be used every single Christmas, every single December. I think I've just missed that. Hopefully the black bars were gone anyway. We've got beautiful, that spiced apple's got a really nice gold shimmer. I can't see it to my eye a lot of the time. But when the light's right, I know you can't see me looking at it, but it looks really nice. Again, Marilyn's saying it's nice in a Fountain Pen Revolution Ultra Flex. I need to get some more Flex pens. I've tried them in the past, and I just don't get on with them. I don't know why it is. It was just something. I tried and I tried and I tried and I gave in. Teresa, been looking for the E95S for a while. It's a very nice pen. I'll put it over this other side for a second. I love this colour. I love the burgundy. I love this champagne. Again, why it's out this month is because this month is themed around Christmas in July. So this colour of the cap is called champagne. Blonde Scales 1, having trouble getting a stub nib to write. I think as Teresa's just saying, a lot of it's down to the position that you are holding the pen, I believe. Once you get the pen in the right position, it's a lot easier. I love, though, the line it gives. I mean, I think it just looks so nice. And in my daily writing book, let me just get this. This is the book I'm currently using for my writing practice. Get to the right page. It's further back than I thought. There we go. I just love the way it comes out in there. It looks really nice, full of character. Just pop that back. Down to where it's sold. 1.1 cursive italic. I haven't tried it. I've got in my box of nibs to try. I do have a an italic pen that's cursive. Can't get that word out. I got it from, it was a company in India. I say I haven't tried it yet. Teresa, Franklin Christoph, cursive italic. Miss Marilyn Darling, only hands down. I think hopefully it should be a lot better now with the way that it's showing. What is my opinion on Chinese pen brands? I will be honest, I don't mind them. If you'd have seen at the start when I was going through my pens, roughly I would say 60 to 70% of my collection are Chinese pens. I say in a lot of my videos, what I want from a fountain pen is, does it let me get ideas out of my head and onto paper, and in a way I enjoy it? They do. They're fairly cheap. So before I bought my Leonardo Momento Zero Grande, I got the Moonman M800s to see if I liked that style of pen. Same with the Pilot Custom 823. I bought the Wingsun 699 first. I don't mind the pens. One thing I will say is, we read a lot of reports about working conditions, the way that people are treating China, about the whole Chinese regime. I don't know, because I'm not into geopolitics, but yeah, I do think sometimes the working conditions are very bad. I think when you're paying $7 for a pen, you've got to wonder, what have they done to be able to make it so cheaply? Marilyn, it's not the flex, it's the feed. Could well be. The only pen I've really tried an actual flex nib, one was my Kaweco, which is this one here. This is a dip pen. Didn't get on with that. It flexed a little bit. The other one was a Narwhal Nautilus. Not Nautilus, a Narwhal Schuylkill. It was actually the Chromis Teal. I bought that with the Narwhal Flex nib. I think it's a zebra nib. I could not get it to do what I wanted. Could well be me. Could well be I've got quite a heavy hand, so that the plastic feeds, they just didn't keep up. And same with the plastic feeds for shimmer. All my feeds are all plastic. I don't think any of my pens have got a ebonite feed. Okay, no more questions at the second. So what we'll do is, what am I going to be recording this week? So this week I'm only going to be recording 3 videos. The first one is going to be on this. This is the Fountain Revolution. This is the Darjeeling. I'm going to be recording a fountain pen focus on that. It'll go out later in July, I think maybe early August. The other video I'm recording, and I'm not sure how this will end up. Hopefully you can see these. I might split them into 2 hands. Whoops. Without throwing that one. These are all my gold nib pens. So I've got pens ranging from a no. Let me just make sure I get the right pen. That one. This is a Wingsun 698 with a gold nib. And going all the way up to my Pilot Custom 823. So what I'm going to do is film a video, not so much where I'm going to be reviewing the pens. There'll be a little bit talk about each pen, but what I'm going to be doing is comparing the nibs. So comparing, 2, 4, 6, 7 different gold nibs. And, in there, most of them 14 karat gold. Do have the 118 karat in the Waterman Karen. So if there's any questions that you can think of, I'm recording it tomorrow. So just drop a comment on the video if there's anything you'd like me to cover when I do that. I'm also going to be recording a video on a subject that I've completely forgotten. Let me just get into my database. And, for my Tricky Little Questions videos, I'm going to be recording a video on the Galileo thermometer and really looking at how they work. I like that in my lounge room, we have a Galileo thermometer. I think they look really nice. So that's something that I'm going to be looking at. Videos coming up. Last week's videos. So last week we had the focus on the Sailor Pro Gear Slim. really enjoy this pen. I know it's a bit on the small side, but I find it's still nice and usable. I need to look at getting a larger version, so that's something I need to save up for. I also did a video where we compared the Wing Sung 601 and the Jinhao 51A. So 2 Chinese pens and 2 pens that are fairly inexpensive. Both had hooded nibs. Friday we had an ink video, and in that video we looked at Diamine Oxblood versus Diamine Writer's Blood. Really interesting with that. Absolutely gobsmacked by that video. Normally my ink videos, when you look at the stats after the first day, it shows you a list of how it goes in the last 10 videos you've done. Normally the ink videos, they're down maybe position 8-ish. Friday's video, position number 1. And even when I checked it today, after 2 days, it's still position 1. Absolutely gobsmacked by that. Really pleased. So hopefully people have enjoyed that. Yesterday's video on my it went on my Tricky Little Questions, and I put it on my Next Actions channel, which is my personal productivity channel. Behind me, yes, you can see it here, I've got a board, and on there's a productivity statement. So the last quarter's was 1 small step. So I did a video explaining what 1 small step means to me. This quarter, my statement is be real. A very complex statement when you consider it's only 2 words, but it's things like, being real with yourself, being real with other people, being aware of the fact that we all wear masks, and different masks for different situations, and how to try and be aware of that and fetch some of yourself outside of that mask as well. But it's also things like when you're estimating work, it's easy to say, yeah, that'll take me a couple of days, where when you get down to it, it'll take 5 days, and you knew that in the beginning, but you just thought, well, they want to hear a couple of days. So it's all about being real with estimates as well. So yes, there'll be a detailed video at the end of the quarter, but be real, really important, very, very complex statement. Next week's pens. So today we'll be having a fountain pen focus on this. This is the Pen BBS 308. The ink in here is by Cult Pens, and it's a deep dark green. I absolutely love the name of this ink, deep dark green. Tuesday, I'll be doing my first impressions of the Platypus Model 10. This is a 3D printed pen made by a gentleman in Melbourne, so it's an Australian made pen. This is part of this year's pen buy-in plan, which is, where possible, to only buy Australian made pens. Friday is my halftime report. I've actually already filmed it. I normally film the halftime report the Wednesday before it goes out on the Friday, but this week I've got appointments virtually all day Wednesday, so I won't have the time to actually do it. So I've already recorded that. That's ready to go. And then next Saturday on the Tricky Little Questions channel, it'll be a quiz. So there's 10 quiz questions. They're loosely based around videos that I've done over the past few months. And then next Sunday, I'll be doing a fountain pen focus on the Visconti Breeze. One of the things you may have seen if you saw my Oxblood and Writer's Blood video, you may have seen I've inserted like a little advert into it now for my channel membership. So this is something that I've set up because obviously I want to try and expand what I'm doing. But I really need support to be able to carry on doing that because, I'll be honest, I'm currently unemployed. So a lot of my meetings are trying to get jobs, but, I've been struggling to do that. So from my meagre income is what keeps me going. And that's why I'm hoping if I can get people to start supporting the channel, that'll help me to be able to use that channel money, which will be focused only on buying stuff for the channel, but it'll hopefully help a little bit with that. So I've set up this supporter thing on supporter level on YouTube memberships. So there'll be loyalty badges, early access to videos, normally a couple of days before. Shout outs. I hate this. This is a standard one. They say you have to include priority reply to comments. I think that's absolutely awful. I don't give anybody priority. I will not give anybody priority. I will reply to virtually every comment I can. I read every single comment. I know I say this quite often. It's so important to me. People spend the time to send a comment to me. It's rude of me to A, not read it, and B, not respond. So what I'm doing now, I used to just tick the like button when I'd read a comment. What I do now is, if there's nothing really I can add to the conversation, I'll just put a thumbs up emoji. It's the first time I've really used emoji, so that's been quite interesting. But I reply to all comments, and I don't give priority. I literally go through and I do them in the order of their arrival. So that's something, if you can, please have a think about that. We'll jump back to the comments. So, highly recommend the Noodler's Conrad. Yeah, I do. That's that Conrad. That's on my list of pens to eventually try. Yeah, and same with the Himalaya. Blonde Scale. How many dip pens do I have? I've just got the 2. Well, 2 and a bit. So I've got the Taveco one that I already showed. You can see how rusty the nib is. That's how it's been well over a year. I've got my Serendipity dip pen. This is the one I use in my ink comparison videos. So that's got a broad Yoho nib on it. And then got this. Oh, we bought this, I'm going to say 14, 15 years ago. Came in a little stand. And we went to a place called Sovereign Hill, which is based over in Ballarat, which is in Victoria. And what that is, it's based on the late 1800s. Like Ballarat was a huge mining area, so it's trying to replicate what Australian towns, what Australian mining camps would have looked like. So it's a hands-on experience. You can go in and buy the shops. They had a schoolroom, which is where we got that from. So they were showing how school kids would write with this dip pen. They had slate tablets there so somewhere, I don't know where it is, we've got a slate tablet and a pen. Really, really interesting. Marilyn, I will add that. So let me, softness between 14 and 18k nibs. Bounce, yeah, I've included that in my note. Marilyn, thank you. Yeah, thank you. I hope you enjoyed it. I loved making that video because when you look at the inks, they look very similar. But when you start going down, wow. Teresa, couldn't find any Terry Pratchett books through. Yeah, it is. I use an app called Libby to borrow ebooks from my local library, and the way they do it is really weird. So it's like this Vera series I've been reading, they had books 1 to 5, they've got books 7 and 8, I think it was, but they don't have book 6, so I had to buy book 6 in the end. Bit weird. My nearest library, don't often go to it. The nearest library is about a half-hour drive from where I live. Blonde Scales is, yeah, them Galileo thermometers, I think they're nice. I think they're quite pretty. Yeah, Marilyn definitely needs a new nib. Zebra G nib. Yeah. Blonde Scales, new Serendipity. Yeah, I think I may be wrong here, but when I was buying the Serendipity, he wasn't well at the time, and I think a lot of it is down to his health. Marilyn, darling, Libby's great. It is. I love Libby. I say I borrow a lot of books from there, but see, it's just weird that the way they do it, and it's not down to Libby. They're just essentially the front end. It's down to the libraries. So why a library would have the first 5, then a gap, then the next 2, and it's not just them. I haven't looked at the Terry Pratchett books because I own most of those. But what was the other series that I was reading where they did the same? I can't remember. It was a fantasy series. Oh, Agatha Christie. I've been reading all Agatha Christie books. And again, they do the same. They have a load, then they miss 2 or 3, then they have a load more, then they miss... It's just really weird. Blonsdale's wanted one of the metal-handled serendipities. I don't know if he's still doing them. It might be, if you've got his contact details, might be really worth reaching out. And Marilyn, weird about the way the libraries are. So I think it was Teresa commented, about the Terry Pratchett books. Currently reading The Colour of Magic. I've got about 30 pages left. You can see there my bookmark. That's what's left before I finish that. So this will get finished today. I was hoping to finish it last night, but I just got tired and so I didn't bother. And then ready to go next, I've got the Light Fantastic, Terry Pratchett again. I'm going to maybe look at, after I've finished reading this one, take me about a week again, I might look at a different author. What I find is if I read the same author all the time, I get bored. And again, I also found if I read the same genre all the time, I end up getting bored. My primary genre that I like to read is fantasy. You know, I love these. These are such light reading, so humorous. So as said, the other books I've been reading is Agatha Christie. So I might maybe read an Agatha Christie next. Or I might read the next Vera book. I think there's 8 or 9 in the series. But then she's wrote a number of other series, 2 of which have been turned into TV shows already. Marilyn, all gone. It's a shame because I think he's based in Canberra, from memory. Death of the Nile. I've loved the Death of the Nile on TV, and part of that was what got me into reading the Agatha Christie books. So what I'm doing is I'm actually reading them in order, and it's really interesting. Blonsdales was just happy to get the 3 that was able to get, so I'm assuming is that the Serendipity pens? I've got the on my Joe Abercrombie stuff on my reading list. Let me just see if I can pull it up and share that with you. Let me get to the right place. I think that's here. Is it this one? So how can I make this bigger? Not sure. So let's switch over to the screen again. So I use something called Obsidian as my knowledge management system. So here you can see Agatha Christie. You can see these ones are the ones I've still got to read. What I've been doing as I read them, I get them out of the way because otherwise it's such a massive list. Oh no, sorry, they're the ones I've read. I don't know, I can't read. They're the ones I've read. So if I go down, here's the ones I've got to read. So nearly through, so 3 Blind Mice, that's the next one. That's not on Libby. So that's actually the Mousetrap. Alice Roberts, that's like, Andy Weir, The Martian. I know he's released another one. So here are the Vera ones. So I've just finished a couple of weeks ago Harbour Street, so then I'll be moving on to the next. There are all the other ones. So what other? Brandon Sanderson, David Gemmell, George R.R. Martin, Ian Fleming. I read Chitty Chitty Bang Bang about a year ago. Sorry. Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, my favourite film of all time. The book, completely different. James Runcie, so I don't know if you've seen the TV show Grantchester. He's the guy who wrote the books that's based on. And that's really interesting. Janny Wirtz, I've already read all these once, but I want to reread them. I've got Joe Abercrombie on there. Joel Rosenberg, J.R.R.R.R. Tolkien. Catherine Kerr, again, I've read all of these, but they're down to eventually reread. I want to read the Lev Grossman, The Magicians. Marie Brennan, I heard about that on Incomparable, so that's why they're on there. Megan Lindholm, haven't read any of these. I've read the Robin Hobb books. I believe Robin Hobb is another pen name for the same lady. Patrick Rothfuss, waiting for the latest that series. Same with Raymond E. Feast, waiting. Robert Galbraith. I've read the first one. I want to read a couple of the others. This is actually J.R. Rowling. She did some crime books, and that's the name she wrote them under. Robin Hobb. Again, I've got a couple more books that I want to finish in that series. Stephen King. Terry Brooks. Love this. Again, Armageddon's Children wasn't available in the library. That's why that's paused at the moment. Terry Goodkind, really enjoyed them ones. I'm rereading these. I'm currently on Faith of the Fallen, and I'm really struggling with it. I don't know what it is, so I've put that on a rest at the moment. Terry Pratchett, so yeah, that's my reread. Got all the books there in the order I'm going to be reading them. Theodora Goss, these are really interesting. It's based in like an alternate universe, really good books. Essentially, it's the daughters of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. There's Frankenstein's daughter, I think it is. There's vampires. It's also got Sherlock Holmes in it. Good fun books. Really enjoyed those. I believe there's a third. Oh yeah, I've read the third book. Hopefully there'll be a fourth one. Productivity, we don't need to look at that. So yeah, they're what I read. So Xanth, I'll add that to my list. Xanth book series. Let's go back to the camera. Hey, it's Garry. Yeah, I like to start my videos with "Hi, it's Garry." Blonde scales, yes, light blue, dark blue, and purple. Yeah, I do like my Serendipity pen. It's really, it's because it's so easy. Okan 2. Where are we? I can't wait, but that's not a suitable comment. And as such, if I can work out how to do it, I'll be removing that comment. And same with another one that you've put. I'm afraid that's not what we're here for. We're here to talk about fountain pen things. Teresa, giving up Patrick. Yeah, same with George R.R. Martin. I'm waiting and waiting and waiting. I mean, how many years is it since the TV series finished? I can't understand why. Well, at the end of the day, he's got to write the book he wants to write. But yeah, ever so disappointed that we're having to wait so long. So what have we got? So I've gone through everything on my list of things we want to talk about. I've gone way over the hour again. I'm surprised my wife hasn't been stood at the door tapping her watch. What's my opinion on the X450 medium nib? Yeah, I quite like it. It writes nice. I find it's nice and juicy. I've got, I can't remember if it's 2 or 3 of them at the moment. Just a nice solid pen, performs really well. A little bit thin, but not thin enough to put me off. Just reaching over. What I'm actually toying with is I do have this pen here, and this is what I might do next week. This pen I haven't done a first impressions on yet. It's been sat there. It's an X450. I never remember about that. And what I'm thinking next week as my discussion point is actually to do a first impressions on this. So to actually ink it up on camera and go through and do that. Marilyn, thank you. Yeah, I'd love doing these videos. I've got to be honest with you. When I did the first one, I was thinking, do you know, I'll do a couple of these. I'll hate it. Absolutely love it. My poor voice at the end of it, though. Marilyn likes the X750 better. Yeah, again, I know I'm pulling this out. Having them divots, to me, doesn't really help that much because I held my pens really down low, trying to avoid the comment, whereas they're up there. But, yeah, still nice. Yeah, someone else saying they do the same thing with their X450. I say I just find it really... And I think next week, that's what I was planning. Yeah, I'm forever forgetting that. I've got a number of pens where I do that and I end up going and 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 think, hang on, why can I see the cartridge? So that's all I've got for you today. Thank you all for your time. Thank you all for joining me. I love getting the comments. I love getting the chat. Marilyn's just said the X350 is a screw cap. I haven't bought a single pen from China this year. When is it? It's the 9th of July. In about 2 weeks, I'm expecting my next payment of money from YouTube. And whatever that is, that's going to be spent on Chinese pens. My last payment YouTube money I spent on notepads. So I do have a massive list. So I want to get a couple more X159s. I've got the X350, the X850. There's quite a number of pens on there. So, I'll be going through. Chances are I might not actually get to do much with them because I know my wife's trying to get a load of pens for me for December when she does the ink vent. And she does a little gift each day. So she might nick a load of them. But I am intending, with my next payment of YouTube money, will be all Chinese pens. Yeah, it's not. My poor wife gets fed up of me talking about fountain pens. So, and my son, he's 26, and he describes this Bic. I think it's a Bic Crystal, but it's definitely a Bic. He says this is the best pen in the world. He won't even touch a fountain pen. So yeah, it's nice to be able to chat. Marilyn, the X850, also a screw cap. What's my opinion on slapping ink on cheap 304? I don't have a 304. As I've said earlier on, as long as the pen writes, lets me get ideas out of my head and onto paper in a way that I enjoy, I don't really care. Most of the inks I use tend to be diamine, but that's about it. Santa, yeah, thank you for joining us. Yeah, Teresa, good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Is it Penboy Roy that starts his pen tasks with that? Marilyn's leaving. Yeah, got to leave her something to buy for Inkvent. I know she's bought some stuff. She won't tell me what they are. Generally with the pens, I've got a rough idea. I'm guessing, is that to do with that cheap 304? I don't know. Not a pen. Oh yeah, maybe the Bic. Yeah. Definitely. I've actually got a video planned. I haven't got round to filming it. I've had it planned since about October last year, where I'm going to compare one fountain pen, this, a roller ball, a pencil, and there was something else. But there was 5 of them anyway, where I was going to compare them in one video. I just haven't got round. I don't know what it is. I just cannot get round to. Thank you all for your time. I'm going to jump off now. Yeah, it's 10 to 10 in the morning here, so I'll definitely be in mega trouble. So, thank you everyone, and I'll talk to you again soon.